Hello and welcome. I'm Aisling and I like to talk about books. Today I am going to be doing my May TBR. Can we believe it's May already? Time flies, hey? Okay, so I'm gonna kick it straight off with, as ever, the first book I'm planning to read in the new month is my library book club book, and hopefully this month's pick is a little bit better than last month because I actually DNF'd it. It was Shrines of Gaiety. Wasn't for me, unfortunately, but this pick sounds a bit like it might be more up my alley. It is The Swimmers by Julie Otsuka. I had actually never heard of this book, never heard of this author, but upon reading the blurb, it actually sounds like it might be kind of a bit more of me. It sounds quite tender, it sounds quite emotive, it's quite short as well. With a bit of trepidation, I have high hopes for this one, so I will read the blurb instead of trying to talk about it and getting it completely wrong. So, the swimmers are unknown to one another except through their private routines, slow lane, medium lane, fast lane, and the solace each takes in their morning or afternoon laps in the local pool. Until one day a crack appears beneath its surface. One of these swimmers is Alice, in whose memory cracks are also beginning to appear. Without the fellowship of other swimmers in the routine of her daily laps, she is plunged into dislocation and chaos, swept into memories of her childhood, the Japanese-American incarceration camp in which she spent the war, and the child she lost. As Alice clings to the tethers of her past, in a home she feels certain is not her home, her daughter must navigate the newly fractured landscape of their relationship. Does that not sound kind of great? Or is that just me? I do feel an affinity towards stories that gravitate around the theme of memory. I'm obsessed with memory. I'm a very nostalgic person. I'm a really sensitive person. I hold my memories quite tightly and quite dearly, and I just love the idea of how the brain kind of maintains memory, and I love all of that stuff. And this to me seems like it's kind of focused in and around the theme of memory and memory loss, so I'm actually really looking forward to it. It's a short read as well. It's 176 pages, so I feel like once I start to read this I will fly through it. I hope I really enjoy it because it does sound like something that's quite exciting for me. It's lovely to be introduced to a book. Like, this is why I go to a book club. It's lovely to be introduced to a book that you may never have otherwise read or otherwise come across. So high hopes for this one. I am very much a mood reader, and apparently my mood for this month is basically fantasy, because aside from my book club pick, the books that I've plucked off my shelf in an attempt to maybe get through a few of them, they all seem to be fantasy this month, so hey ho. This next book will need no introduction. The author definitely needs no introduction. So R.F. Kuang wrote the Poppy War series. I read the Poppy War a couple of years ago, so my memory is very hazy on it, and I think this is why I don't read series. It's not because I don't want to continue on, it's just that I'm really bad at remembering what happened in a book, and then when I go into like the next book I'm like, can't read this because I don't have the context anymore. I'm not going to go back and read the Poppy War. I'm actually going to go into the Dragon Republic. So this series is about a girl named Rin, and she passes this exam to get into this prestigious school for kind of, I think, like warriors or something. Oh my god, I'm so bad, I just cannot remember. My partner gave me the trilogy, and I'm quite ashamed to only be getting around to the second book now since it's been a few years. I really enjoyed the first book. I hadn't really read much set in China or around, you know, Chinese politics or Chinese wars or anything like that. I found the setting quite interesting and the characters really interesting as well. With the limited information that I've given you and that I have myself, I'm going to read you the blurb for the second book in the trilogy. So, Rin is on the run. Haunted by the terrible choices she had to make to save her people, Rin's only reason for living is to take revenge on the traitorous empress who sold her homeland to its enemies. Forced to ally with the powerful dragon warlord in his plan to unseat the Empress, Rin throws herself into the struggle, using the fearsome power bestowed on her by the vengeful god Phoenix. After all, making war is all she knows how to do. I don't know if I know enough about the first book anymore. I might have to watch a few booktube videos and read a few synopses to kind of get into this. I feel confident that my memory will be rejigged, and maybe I should have done that before recording this video, but here we are, we're gone rogue. So that's the second book I'm planning on reading this month, and I'm really looking forward to it once I understand what it's about. And then the next book is the book that my mum gave me for Easter. So my mum gives me a book every Easter instead of an Easter egg, which I feel is a much better trade-off because books tend to be more expensive than chocolate, and I enjoy books more than chocolate, although sometimes I enjoy them at the same time. So the next book anyway also needs no introduction. I have never read any Cassandra Clare books, but this month I'm planning to read the first Mortal Instruments book, City of Bones by Cassandra Clare. I heard something interesting lately about Cassandra Clare, and what I heard was, now I have not verified this, so I'm just blurting this out, who knows, but was that before she became a novelist, she wrote, or maybe while she was already a published novelist, I don't know, she used to write Harry Potter fan fiction in which I believe Ron and Ginny got together, so that's interesting. Good for her. So anyway, this book is the first book in the Mortal Instruments series. I have not seen the film either. Is there more than one film? I don't even know. I clearly know nothing today. It's Sunday evening, I'm tired. It's been a long week. It's been a long life. Anyway, we'll get to the blurb. So Clary Frey is seeing things. Vampires in Brooklyn and werewolves in Manhattan. Irresistibly drawn to the shadow hunters, a secret cadre. I actually don't know how to pronounce that word. Of warriors dedicated to ridding the world of demons, Clary encounters the dark side of New York City and the dangers of forbidden love. And is that Clary or Clary? Clary? I also must look that up. Isn't it interesting how you feel like you know a word and you know what it means in context, you know how to use it, but you've actually never said it aloud, so you don't know how to pronounce it. But I think that's nice in a way, because then you know that somebody learned a word through reading it, and that's cool. That's what we're here for. A good time and to learn some new words. So that sounds really interesting. I want to read something a bit fun, a bit easy, a bit like no pressure on the brain. All good. My brain clearly is having trouble. It's just having trouble all the time. I would say this week or this month, but really it's been this adulthood at the very least. I actually found this book the other day in a little free library, and it's the first time I've ever come across a book that I really wanted to read that was in perfect condition, that was in a little free library. And unfortunately I had only gotten a brand new copy of it as a gift a few weeks ago. But look, I'm sure somebody else will be really excited to find that, because I was. It's like, I'd say it's never been read. Like it's pristine. So I just have the stack in my lap because, you know, I like to be disorganized. That's who I am. So the next book, again, is another one. Just doesn't need any introduction, I don't think. So it is Legendborn by Tracy Dion. I actually really don't know much about this book at all. I've just been seeing a lot about it online, and when I say I've seen a lot about it, what I've seen about it is that people are really enjoying it. I actually don't know what it's about as such. Guess I'll read the blurb. First time actually reading what this book is about. After her mother dies in an accident, 16-year-old Bree Matthews wants to escape. A residential program for bright high schoolers seems like the perfect opportunity until she witnesses a magical attack her very first night on campus. A flying demon feeding on human energies, a secret society of so-called Legendborn that hunt the creatures down, a mysterious mage who calls himself a Merlin and who attempts and fails to wipe Bree's memory of everything she saw. Memory again. The mage's failure unlocks Bree's own unique magic and a buried memory from the night her mother died. Now Bree will do whatever it takes to discover the truth, even infiltrate the Legendborn. But when the Legendborn reveal themselves as the descendants of King Arthur's knights and foretell a magic war, Bree must decide how far she'll go for the truth. Should she use her magic to take the society down or join the fight? I guess I'm about to find out in my wrap up at the end of the month. Hopefully I will tell you that I found out and I really enjoyed it. I'm looking forward to it, and I hope that I do enjoy it. Lately I feel like I'm afraid to look forward to a book or be excited about, because like when I pick up books that I'm really excited for, I'm quite disappointed by them. And I don't even think it's because they have further to fall because I have been excited about them. I just think it's maybe I just don't like the kind of books I thought I liked anymore, or maybe I'm just that much of a mood reader. I have one more physical book here that I'm hoping to read in the coming month. I've actually read 2 books from this author already. So it's Kieran Millwood Hargrave, and the book I'm planning on reading this month is The Dance Tree. So I read The Mercies by this author, and I also read a children's book, Julia and the Shark, which was phenomenal, by the way. Let's never discredit children's books, because that book was really beautiful. The illustrations were lovely as well. I believe her husband or her partner did them. So anyway, I digress. The Mercies, her first novel. It was the first book that I ever read from my library book club. and I really enjoyed it. I kind of tend to love books that are a little bit kind of witchy, I guess, and that one was in spades. If you like that sort of thing, I'd really recommend it. It was really good. It was really good. The one for this month is The Dance Tree. I actually didn't read this book. Again, it's another one my partner got me. I'm sorry, Sean. I promise I'm trying to read the books you bought me, and I'm really grateful for them. I kind of didn't feel like reading this book, and I think it's because I have an idea in my head that this book is about like an epidemic, and we were balls deep in the pandemic at the time, so I was just like, I've had enough of that sort of thing for now, but I feel like I'm ready for it, and I feel like this author is gonna one day probably be a favourite of mine. Well, depending on this book, I've kind of heard mixed reviews on it, so I'm gonna read the blurb again. Strasbourg, 1518. In the midst of a blisteringly hot summer, a lone woman begins to dance in the city square. She dances for days without pause or rest, and she is joined by hundreds of others. The authorities declare an emergency. Musicians will be brought in to play the devil out of these women. Just beyond the city's limits, pregnant Lisbeth lives with her mother-in-law and husband, tending the bees that are their livelihood. And then, as the dancing plague gathers momentum, Lisbeth's sister-in-law, Neith, returns from 7 years' penance in the mountains for a crime no one will name. 7 years. It's a secret that Lisbeth is determined to uncover. As the city buckles under the beat of 1,000 feet, she finds herself thrust into a dangerous web of deceit and a clandestine passion, but she's dancing to a dangerous tune. Set in an era of superstition, hysteria and extraordinary change, and inspired by the true events of a doomed summer, The Dance Tree is an impassioned story of family secrets, forbidden love, and women pushed to the edge from the best-selling author of The Mercies, which I've already said is a really good book. Definitely a bit of intrigue in this as well. I think it's becoming apparent that I really enjoy historical fiction, and that's something I only really realised maybe last year, because I'm not a history girl. Maybe that's why I like historical fiction, because I know nothing about nothing that has to do with history, so it's all brand new to me. I don't be fact checking when I'm reading because I don't know. I'm just going with it. This sounds really interesting. A bit of intrigue there with her sister's 7-year penance in the mountains. What did she do? What happened? Bet it wasn't even her fault. Bet it was something to do with men being pricks again. I'm sorry. I'm really looking forward to reading this, and I hope at the end of the month I can say again that this was just as good, if not better than The Mercies or Julia and the Shark as well. So that's all the physical books that I have. I got a message from my library today or yesterday to say that a book that I had ordered had come in. So today, Sunday, I popped over to the library. I can go into my library during unstaffed hours, and off I go anyway to the hold shelf, look for my name, and the book that I was supposed to be there for wasn't there, which is weird, and there was no staff there, and tomorrow's bank holiday, so I don't know what the story was there, and I was hoping to include it in my TBR, but I don't know when it's actually going to arrive in the library or what the story is, so we'll hold back and we'll see. It was definitely one kind of out of left field for me. Bit of a horror. I'm not much of a horror reader, although I kind of want to be. I just think when you read horror, it really gets in on you, doesn't it? I can watch horror films, no bother. Can't play horror video games. Traumatized by Resident Evil 2 when I was an 8-year-old. Not joking. Everyone thinks I joke when I say that. I'm not joking. I still have nightmares about that game, 25 odd years later, so that's fun. We're going to leave it at that. Hopefully I get through those. I'm a mood reader, so maybe I'll read none of them, but at the moment I'm in the mood for all of these books. I'm hoping that they're a good time, and if you've read any of these books or have any questions, thoughts or comments about any of the books I've spoken about, please do let me know. Let me know what you're reading yourself, and I hope you're minding yourself. I hope you're looking after yourself and each other's. If you've liked this video, please please subscribe if that's your thing, and again, never any pressure. If you don't want to subscribe or that's cool. That's entirely cool. Okay, I hope you've all had a lovely weekend, and by the time this is posted, I hope you'll have had a lovely start to your week, and I shall talk to you soon. Thanks for watching. Bye bye.